only. I'm your special guest this week, Mason, and I'm joined here by board game enthusiast Danny
Yes.
Cathro. Danny, how you
Yes.
doing today?
I'm doing great. I am home for the holidays and it has been a lot of board games and I love it. It's my family's thing. I grew up on board games as like our main source of entertainment when we spend time together. So it's super fun.
Yeah, they can't see it at home. They see a few. If you're watching the video, there's a
Yeah.
bunch of board games behind him, but he's surrounded with board games as if it was like a nuclear fallout, and his family's like, "You gotta protect all the board games. We need all
Yeah,
of them."
if there were a nuke, we are trying to, as one family, like save every board game that has been created in our basement. So I think if we could maintain this basement, there would be almost no board games lost to society. Like we would have almost all of them.
Yep.
There's like hundreds around me.
Well,
It's
if
pretty
you
fun.
want to donate to Danny's cause or maybe help diversify the location of board games in case of said nukes, you can go to
Mm.
GameGrid. GameGrid's a great store in Utah. I'm really hoping GameGrid sells board games now that I'm thinking about it.
They do.
They,
They definitely do.
yeah. You know how I knew that?
Well-rounded stores.
Because they're such a great store, of course they sell board games. Just obviously. And so, Game Grid, it's the place to go in Utah for Magic the Gathering. But you know where else you can go if you want to get some quality content about Merfolk, Limited, Constructed, and get some great deals? That's the Mana Base. The Mana Base are their sponsor. They actively seek out people who are doing up and coming content, sorry, and they've sponsored us, and it's great. And normally this is the part of the show where other people who host the podcast would make fun of people, but I won't do that. No point, because the Mana Base, they're above that. I can tell. Danny, let's get right into it though. This is the
Ready.
Ixalain goodbye show. Danny, what do you feel about Ixalain? Just can you sum it up?
Yeah. It
Like,
was a wild ride. I feel like the highs and lows of Ixalan were pretty big for me. So I think I kind of went on a similar trajectory as what a lot of other people did. So I started off with thinking that it was super lame, and it was really weird because like the general strategy that I had learned from like how I play limited was not super effective in this format. And the strategy of equip auras to my creatures and attack you with them was surprisingly effective. And so I initially didn't like that. I was like kind of turned off. And then I kind of figured it out. And there was a moment where I was like, I get it. I understand the format. This is fun. And then that lasted for like a couple weeks. And then it stopped being fun to put one with the wind on J Guardian and feel like smart. Like, because then everyone knew that. And then you like weren't the only smart one anymore. And then it was kind of lame. But I don't know if that's kind of like the very boiled down simple version of Ixalan, but I think that's honestly how it'll be remembered in many, many people's minds. But
yeah, my experience with Ixalan was I did the pre-release and I loved
Mhm.
Explore. Because the thing I like about Explore is it like adds randomness, but there's some control to it. And at the time, I didn't realize just how swingy it would be. Like you'd want to hit like every time. Like I thought you'd be
Yeah,
like pretty okay with just like it's a 3 mana 3/2 or 2/1 that draws a card. Like that's
yeah.
fine, sure. But I don't know if that mechanic played out that way. The format was so poorly received. I normally wait like a week or two before I play the limited format that I just never really played a whole lot of Ixalan. So, ugh.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting. So, like, it had some... Like, there was a time where I enjoyed it. Like, when I got that if I took Blightkeeper plus Swashbuckling, I would be able to win a lot of games. Like, that was, like, a cool time. But,
Yeah.
it's not a very deep drafting experience at that point, right? If everyone is trying to jam these decks. But then I thought Sealed was actually somewhat reasonable. Like I enjoyed the tournaments of Sealed that I played. I think it had a lot of the similar issues, but they weren't as pronounced. Like I didn't feel them as strong as I did, but so I had a good experience playing Sealed. Like I played in a GP where I did really well. I went 8-1 with a Sealed deck that I felt was bad. And so that was like a surprising twist.
Yeah.
So I had a little bit biased view, but yeah.
I mean, it's our opinion. I feel like
Sure.
we're not so far off base. Like sometimes in Magic podcasts, like you hear a couple things from a couple different shows. And you're like what's the truth? Like how much of this is just like their opinion? How much of it has like how much they play in the level that they played at? But pretty resoundingly, Ixalan
Yeah.
Limited is not exactly what we were looking for.
Yeah, it's just not a fun play experience. Like, you want to be able to each game feel like you're participating. And so even when I was having fun with Ixalan, it was mostly in the drafting portion. Like, I thought the drafts were very interesting and that you could make a lot of meaningful decisions. But once you got into the games, you just still, like, would just get owned or you would demolish your opponent. And that's not very fun. Like, you can't have a sustained enjoyment level if the games are actually miserable. So,
Yeah. And I've heard the team sealed was like historically easy. That you would just have
oh,
like
yeah.
tribe deck
Hmm.
slash good stuff deck.
Yep, yep.
Like every time.
If you look at the team GPs, normally the top fours will be stacked, and these top fours were not remotely stacked at all. They were like one or two good teams made it, but there was like a team where it was all their first GPs made it, and nothing against them. Like I'm sure
Yeah.
they're very competent players and did well, but it just means that I don't think the barrier to do well in the format was nearly as high as
Yeah.
what it used to be.
Yeah, and we said because team events, you have to beat like if you play against like Peach Carno, for example, you have to beat Owen, Reed, and Huey 2 out of 3. Most people can't
Yeah,
beat them one at a time, so variance is
and
such decreased.
yeah, and like four teams have to beat Owen, Huey, and
Reed.
Reed 2 out of 3, right? It's not
Yeah.
just like not once. Like they have to lose 2 out of 3 4 times in the whole tournament, right? So
Hmm.
it's just it gets rid of a lot of the variance, and like I don't know if it's causal, like if it
Yeah.
caused that or whatever. But like I remember the GP had two teams that were like I had never heard of, very new,
Hmm.
and two that were household names, I guess.
Yeah.
But.
All right. Well, let's move on to what was your most drafted color, Danny?
So, for me, I actually enjoyed blue. I thought the blue cards were really unique and powerful, and so I drafted a lot of blue. And the main reason is you had 3 efficient answers to all of the ridiculous things that would occur. So, you had Perilous Voyage at uncommon, Run Aground, and Depths of Desire at common that could answer a non-Jade Guardian suited up creature, right?
Hmm.
So as long as their creature didn't have hexproof, you could bounce their creature and get your tempo plus 1 for 1 with whatever their aura was. And so that as a baseline strategy was pretty effective for me. Just like having access to bounce spells was really good in this format. And I thought the color combinations of blue were all at least respectable. Like I didn't feel locked into choosing 2 combinations. I felt like all 4 of them were at least reasonable, and I didn't feel at a disadvantage being in those color combinations.
Yeah, that's fair. My most was black because of Skullduggery. First
Okay,
off, great name. That's an awesome name for a card.
it is a
Also,
sweet name.
card's great. Just
That
blows me
card
wild
was
all the
insane.
time.
Yeah,
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 and then you
yeah.
could do
It
like
was
the
like
black white vampire deck and stuff like that.
yeah, it
So
was brutal,
it wasn't super open all the time, but it is what
but
it
it
is.
was
And I
deep. You could be the black white. There would consistently be 3 black white players, and
yes,
it would be like they could still win the draft, even though there's 3 of them.
yep, definitely. So what was your favorite deck to draft in Ixalan?
So I enjoy winning. So my favorite color to draft was blue green Merfolk.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as like there weren't other blue green Merfolk players, I enjoyed that draft, and you would easily win, and it would be wonderful. And if you didn't go 3-0, you would feel very unlucky because the Merfolk player, I'm pretty sure 3-0'd like half the pods. As if there was one, probably more. Like that deck was broken. If it was open, it was super super broken. But
Okay.
um, if like just which one was the most fun? I liked trying to draft Grim Patron Call decks. So
Okay.
I would be like green, black, explore, like pretty much like a bad archetype. It was pretty bad archetype, but green black cards was enjoyable to me because it was like putting your foot down. I'm not going to do what this format's going to do. I'm going to try to explore and grind you out, even though I'm probably not going to work. But it was fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Black white. I just said it. I didn't draft a whole lot, and my experience is limited. So, for this question, that's gonna be my answer.
Black
It's
White was sweet. It was
yeah,
good.
it was
I
awesome.
think
Anointed Vanguard. What was his name? Anointed
Adante's
Deacon.
Vanguard
No, Anointed
and
Deacon.
Anointed Deacon.
Yes,
That
both
card
those
was
cards.
so good. It was very surprising how good Anointed Deacon was. It was critical to that deck.
Yeah,
Super super good.
super powerful. Danny, what was your least favorite deck to draft?
My least favorite deck was blue green Merfolk.
Mm-hmm.
If no, seriously, like if the person next to you was in blue green Merfolk, it was the worst experience. But um, in seriousness, I had the most frustrated I was trying to draft blue red pirates. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know why. Like I loved blue black and I loved black red, and they like made a lot of sense to me. And I would draft like cohesive good decks in those colors. But every time I tried to draft blue red, it was like it was weird. I couldn't get it to work as well as other pirate combinations. And so I would at the end I just started hedging towards black red or blue black. Um I don't know why like maybe I just didn't put in enough effort to figure out how those worked, but I drafted blue red multiple times and it would just be like my deck would just be a little off and it wouldn't function like I wanted it to. So
Gotcha. Yeah, my least favorite one to draft was blue green Merfolk, just because like it felt like everyone was trying to get it, and it's just like, oh, this is just be a train wreck. I don't want to be a part of this, so
yeah.
just never even tried to in the very few experiences I have with the format. So, Danny, what was the I'm sorry, the uncommon you think you drafted the most?
Uncommon that I drafted the most. So I started the format with drafting really bad cards. So probably like Trove of Temptation. I tried to draft that card a lot because I
Yeah.
thought it'd be sweet. Like I would just draft five. I was used to Hour of Devastation, and I tried to make five colors work. But all right, so in serious, like which uncommon was the most impactful for me? Probably Perilous Voyage. I took that card a lot.
Yeah, that
Like
card's good.
it was really interesting. It would happen a lot where they would attack with their Jade Guardian, and you would bounce their One with the Wind, and they would get blown out. So there were it was just a very unique card. It did a lot of things that people didn't expect. So that was probably my favorite.
Yeah, for me, it's probably Adanto's Vanguard. That correct? I always get confused.
Yeah,
It's the uncommon,
yeah,
right? Yeah, that card
correct.
just battles in every time. Like I've been
Yeah, it was
drafting
a
it in
house.
cube too. Like it is insane. The
I I saw that in Cube and I was surprised, and then I realized that they put swords in Umezawa's Jitte in Cube, and then I realized how amazing that would be. Like
oh
a
yeah,
3 power 2 draw. It's like a Porcelain Legionnaire, but it you can put swords on it, and
yeah,
then it can just run into whatever it wants to and never die, and not die to removal spells. And yeah, it seemed amazing.
yeah. Once you get a Sophie on it, it's just over. You
Yeah,
battle in game's done. They just they hang out for a little bit.
yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yep. So what do you think your most drafted common was?
Um, hmm. My most interesting common to me was Dive Down. That one skyrocketed in my pick order throughout the format. So as the as people figured out that you need to be equipping auras onto things, I started being in decks that didn't have Jade Guardian, right? So if you don't have a lot of Jade Guardians, you're just kind of an aggro deck, right? That you're trying to curve out really effectively and then use your auras as tempo to get in damage and kill them, right? And then if they don't kill your guy, they're dead. And if they do, hopefully you'll have another one with wind or another Mark of the Vampire, and they won't be able to kill that one. And so Dive Down in decks that had a lot of one with the winds and Mark of the Vampires is a complete blowout. Like I've cast it against multiple contract killings, and anytime that happened, it's just game over. Like they try to catch up on their turn 5 with a contract killing, and then you just like leave up your 1 blue mana and you counter it, and
Mm-hmm.
then they just take like 6 more damage and then they die. So that was probably my most drafted one, I would assume, at least at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, Annoyed Deacon, like we talked about earlier, that card
Uh-huh.
is just really good and just turns like just makes attacks good suddenly. Like you just get to battle in ways you
Yep,
just normally wouldn't.
that makes sense.
Yep. All right, Danny. It's 3 years in the future.
Uh-huh.
You're now a gold pro with your friend Michael Hinderacher, who is a platinum pro. He says, Danny.
That's realistic right there. That is like, I was gonna say, Mason, you got to be at least a little realistic here, and you went like that's honestly that I would love for that to happen, and that
Mhm.
those are lofty goals for both of us. So I love that.
All right.
Well done.
Well, I'm glad I could help. And Spencer's like, hey, Mason's over here. We've got Ixalain. You want to come draft? Do you say
Um,
yes?
I'll bring a different box of cards. I don't think so. I mean, let's see how Rivals is. Maybe we can get the. That's my fear. I hope that Ixalan isn't so bad that it ruins like the split set too. That is like, oh, that's so terrifying.
Yeah, yeah,
Like it.
yeah,
Yeah, if Rivals of Ixalan is like decent, and then like Ixalan still just ruins it. Like I still just get one with the Winded Mark of the Vampire, and then like curse. But so I don't think so. I like.
The one
It
pack
was
will make
a
a
good
big
learning
difference.
experience for me, but I did not enjoy it, and especially at the end, I did not enjoy it.
Yeah, yeah, no. To touch on that real quick, I think one pack will make a big difference. Like it's a lot harder to get like a bunch of one with the wind J Guardians when there's only a pack.
It's true.
I am also really afraid though of that, but I'm kind of happy because we had the team event the
Uh huh.
weekend of, and it was just super obvious. Chances go way up. So, like the
You mean
success rate.
Mason? You don't think that our innate skill at team limited is going to carry us skillfully past our opponents? You want to leave it up to chance?
No, I'm saying
Unbelievable.
that everyone else is gonna be all on the next levels, but we're so good. We realized it's just the old format with a couple new cards. So we're just one of the wind and mark of the vampire on our side of the table, and they're like, "What? No, this sacrifice outlet's supposed to beat that." And we're like, "Nah, man."
Yeah, if we can get the playset of one with the wins and dive downs, like that's a 9-0 right there, or
Yeah.
8-0. I'm not sure if it'll switch over by then, but
I think it does. Who
probably
cares? Who cares?
something like that.
Yep. I
This
would
sounds
not.
wonderful.
Yeah. Just for the record, like if you're like, oh, let's draft, I'd be like, can we
No.
like do homelands or something? Like at least then there's some novelty to it. I'm not
I'll
super excited about
I'll
that.
browse Twitter while you guys do that.
Yeah.
That sounds better.
Yeah. Anything else? So that's gonna
Yeah.
wrap up Ixalan. Goodbye, good riddance. The show. I mean,
Uh-huh.
it kind of showed that one of the things that makes Magic great is the interaction in Magic, right? So you get to
Mhm.
respond to what your opponent does and play with their cards, and when you can't really play with them or the answers don't line up well enough that you have at least a chance to answer them efficiently, it
Yeah.
just snowballs out of control.
Yeah, it's really bad. So it kind of reminded me of Hearthstone. Like when I play a game of Hearthstone, I feel like my opponent, like I get got. I don't know if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Like my opponent just demolishes me, or I demolish my opponent a large percentage of the games. And when I was playing Ixalan, that's just what I felt like was happening. Like neither of us made meaningful decisions at any point. Like we both drew our opening hands, and then if I drew one of my two removal spells against their creature that they put a one with a win on turn 3 onto, then I would win more than likely, and if I did not, I would lose. And like a lot of the decisions were just made, and so it just wasn't fun. Like that's not generally how limited goes. You normally feel like you have a lot of play to it. You make a lot of decisions each game, and it was yeah, it just left a bad taste in my mouth for sure.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I'll block Vampire's Zeal. All right, I guess I lose. Just like,
Yeah, exactly.
got
Yeah.
2 for 1.
Uh-huh.
Can't win. Feels
Yeah.
great.
I
Yeah.
think we were talking about Sure Strike is a great example. So in this format, Sure Strike felt backbreaking. Like they would just attack with their Thrasher Raptors, and you would have your 3/3, and you'd just be like, all right, my 3/3 will block your 5/3 Trampler. And then they would cast Sure Strike, and you would take 5 damage, and you would not kill their Thrasher Raptors, and you would lose.
Yep.
And Sure Strike has been in a bunch of formats before. Like I remember it like a couple times in the past couple years, I think, and
Yeah.
it was like fine but not great. And in this format, it just felt like so much better because the way that the games played out is that you weren't under any like just speed was the only thing that mattered, and you just had to get your opponent, and there was very little instant speed interaction that would punish you. Like if they weren't playing blue, there was almost nothing that they could do for the first few turns of the game. Like
Yeah.
at least not at common, and so you didn't have to worry about them blowing you out, and so the risk of playing a card like Sure Strike would be mitigated. So
Can't agree more. So that's going to wrap up the show. We do want to say thank you for everyone who's been listening this last year. It's been really awesome doing limited time only. It's been a lot of fun.
Mhm.
We were sorry the last couple of weeks have been inconsistent. Some people who are on this cast right now might have gone places and not brought their laptop charger, and they were afraid they'd mess up their laptop charger if they bought a new or their laptop if they bought a new laptop charger, and so we couldn't
yeah,
do the
some
show.
people, whoever that might be, whoever, yeah, I do think that if there was a time to take a break, the end of Ixalan draft was definitely a time where I wasn't super pumped about talking about it, but this next year I'm super excited to be very dedicated and do every episode. So
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed it the past year too. It's been
Yeah,
a lot of
it's
fun.
gonna be awesome. I mean, we're gonna double back up when the new year starts. Danny and
Yeah.
I will both hopefully be well versed in the format, and we can come back talking
Oh,
about.
we're gonna dive in.
Yeah,
Be ready.
it's
Once
gonna.
Rivals of Ixalan fixes this horrible format, we're going in.
Yeah, rivals will make Ixalan great again. You can find you can find me on Twitter at SOVMason. You can find Danny at DJ Cathro. You can find our wonderful sponsors, GameGrid and Utah, and you can find the Mana Base online. And you go to their store at the Fusion Gaming online.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just want to say thank you to all the patrons of Limited Time Only. The Sensor set up Limited Times Only its own Patreon, so it's not part of constructive criticism anymore. So if you're listening and you've ever donated money to Limited Time Only where you are a donator, Spencer would like it if you were to move over to LTO. It just makes it easier to figure out what needs to be done with what show and make sure the money that you're giving gets given to the correct show, right? Because if you like constructive criticism, you listen to it, but you really like LTO, and we want to make sure you're putting your money towards that kind of stuff. And I know he's redoing the Patreon for constructive criticism, and I assume Limited Time Only as well, so there's going to be new rewards and all that great stuff. Danny, I'm sure will sign all your one with the wins and sure strikes, and he'll just mail them out to you.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I would totally do that.
Yep.
I need to work on my signature though. I haven't needed that. Well, I got it. I got a good one.
You get the big DC. You're just boom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my initials are actually pretty good. The D is a good first letter for a signature. I think. It's a good one.
You can do it like me, where it's like a big M, and then you crescendo the bottom of the M into a C. Boom.
Well, in Indianapolis, when we're on a team, we'll set aside some time. We'll practice.
Yeah.
We need to get this down. This is when I'm a gold pro and Michael Hinderrocker is a platinum pro. We need to have good signatures.
I'll be a bronze by then. By the way,
For
have you
sure.
signed any cards in Magic, but not like seriously? Someone ever been like, hey, I want you to sign my card?
No.
Oh.
I
Boom!
did at the last.
Take it, Silver Pro. Danny
Oh yeah,
Castro.
whoever. Wait, did someone do that for you?
Yeah,
Someone
I've had
asked
it
you?
multiple times
Man.
with Card Fight Vanguard. Not
Man.
Magic, but Card Fight Vanguard. I have signed
That's so
many
cool, though.
cards,
That's
and
sweet.
yeah, it was awesome. There's also a card called Dudley Mason, which I signed a couple times, which was sweet.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Very cool. The sweetest thing is at the last GP, I sat down against my round one opponent, and the person across from me and the people on either side of me all listened to Limited Time Only and all knew who I was.
That's awesome.
I was like, whoa, that's crazy.
Did
And
you
it was
win
super
that
fun to. No, I gave it to him. Yeah, I was like, you guys are too nice. I'm
It's
gonna.
a Patreon reward.
I'm gonna die.
Is that collusion? If you're a patron, Danny will
Collusion.
scoop to you.
Are you a patron of the store of the show?
Yeah.
Would you like to be?
No,
yeah,
you'd have to be a patron for at least a month because you don't want them signing up and dropping out.
This is true. This is
Yeah,
true.
$5 a month.
Makes sense. But I lost that round and then I won the rest of them. I had to give it to the patron. Let them have it, and then we'll move on. I'll just get the rest of the wins. I had them, so it's fine.
You had them, but you're like, you know what?
Yeah.
I could cast this one with the wind, or I could be a good guy.
This is a 5-1 deck. I was feeling the 5-1, so I don't need this one.
Oh, that's right. I forgot your pay to win Silver Pro with your 2 buys. Yeah. Oof.
Two buys.
Yeah. I have 2 buys now too, so I shouldn't be talking. But
buys.
all right. Well, thank you everyone for watching. That was a fun little detour and listening, and we will see all of you amigos in 2017. Have a good rest of your 28. We'll see you in 2018. Have a good rest of your 2017.
Correct.
All right.
See you guys.
See ya.